So I'm here today with Miss Nichols, and we're going to talk a little bit about 7th grade science fair. So you put on a science fair every year, and this year you're having a web component about that. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yep. So the kids are doing, there's 3 pieces to it. There's a board, there's an oral presentation, and they do a slideshow with all of their pieces for the science fair.
And what do you have to do initially? What do you have to do for setup?
We have online examples of every piece that goes into the research so that they can go on Google Docs and click on whatever piece that say they have their abstract to do. And they can go on and find an example, what they're supposed to do, how to do it, an example of how to write their abstract.
How did you start?
I go to Google Docs and go under Mrs. Nichols' website, go to the science fair documents, and pick out the one that you start with, so your materials list or whatever, and it gives you an example, and then on Google Docs you just make a new document and write your materials list and all the other things that you have to write that are in the science fair folder.
And how did you write them out? What did you use the presentation software?
I put them on Google Docs, and when I was all done that, when I made my slideshow, I went into OpenOffice and copy and pasted the information that I needed onto my slideshow.
Okay, when you took your slideshow, you had to save it as what? Do you remember? Remember saving it as a
PowerPoint, and then I upload it back to Google Docs after I'm all done.
Yeah. How the kids liked it?
They liked it great until the end, when the students that stay on top of their work, that meet the deadlines, there's a deadline every Thursday that a piece is due, and the students that have kept up with that and met their deadlines, they're great. The other students that have wasted in class time are frantic the last week because they're just not ready, and they all of a sudden know they need to be, and so they get frantic, and they're in quite a bit.
How did you start to talk about them doing an oral presentation, and how does that work?
The oral presentation, they have their board, they have their computer, but the computer of the slideshow doesn't happen until after they do their oral presentation. So they basically go through their board.
Grapefruit and clementine, and I was seeing which one gave off the highest electrical current, so I put a copper nail.
So with the abstract, they talk about what they did, how they did it, how they set up their experiment, how they tested it, the measurements, and what their results were, and whether their data supports or rejects their hypothesis.
Now, you videotaped their presentations?
Yes.
And how did that go? Was that hard?
No, actually it was really simple. I had a couple students in charge, and then when the students might not have been here, I just did it. The only thing, it is good to have a student do it because I would be grading. So if they switched sides when they were doing their oral presentation, I was busy grading and making, checking and seeing, for editing and capitalizations, things like that. And all of a sudden I'd realize, oops, they're not in the picture, and I'd move the camera. So I think it's really important to have somebody right in charge of that.
You have a student cameraman that works
Yes,
really
and
well?
that works great. And it's really simple. No problems for the most part. And the first time we did it, little things, but it's very easy to do.
So the kids will do their work. They'll hand it in digitally, basically, and you'll have the final draft. They'll do their presentation, and we'll put it all together. So when it's all said and done, they'll have what? What will they have?
They will have a digital piece in their portfolio that deals with a full scientific investigation, which is a huge piece for the science portfolio. And then they have 3 portfolio pieces for language arts. They have a report writing for language arts. They have procedural writing for language arts, which we've really upgraded. This year has been wonderful with procedures because, and I need to update too on the website, but they've put, all of them have pictures and or videos for their procedures, so it's a really nice piece. It's a good portfolio piece. So the report writing, the procedural writing, and the public speaking with the oral presentations.
So you have it all together.
Yeah, and so it's 4 huge pieces out of the portfolio.
Usually, like, for the free battery, the only reason it makes it hard is the mind control variable was Harvard exam to manipulated was corresponded with the amount of voltage.
So, any last advice you'd have for somebody to start out doing this?
To find some students that they really trust that are very focused to help you along the way, especially with the technology piece. And that works, it really takes a load off of you. The biggest piece is the editing. And then I think what we're going to do next year with target instruction is start prepping with the writing more, so that, you know, the writing's a big deal. Research writing, you know, having them try to figure out what it is they need to say. So hopefully doing some research writing and pulling information out of texts will help them get started a little earlier, not be quite so hard. Some students do very well with it, and there's just some dynamite boards, some dynamite projects.